Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie, and I have some fun flamingo projects for you today. But first, don't forget to hit subscribe, the bell if you'd like to be notified, and a thumbs up is always appreciated. Okay, let's get into it. I needed a new look for my front porch for the summer, and so I thought I would start with a new wreath for my front door. Now, this is a wire frame that I picked up at Dollar Tree. It's not the small one, though. It's the big 16-inch one. When you see it, grab it because they go really fast. And it's not really the right kind of wreath form that would be ideal for this project, but it is the largest one that I could find at the Dollar Tree, and that price so much beats all the other stores that I'm going to make it work. I've been picking up these fern plants from the Dollar Tree with a wreath in mind. Now, you do need to be careful. I noticed that I had picked up 3 different kinds that are all a little similar, and you could use different kinds, but I wanted mine to all look the same. Now, the real way I could tell the difference was by the UPC code on the stickers, on the barcodes for them, and I picked out 7 of them that were all the same. This was the most common one that I've been picking up at the Dollar Tree, and it's hard to get 7 of anything, so it took several trips to get that many. Now what I'm going to do, it came with twice as many of the dark, longer ones as it did the shorter, lighter ones. So I'm just going to make a little bouquet of 2 of the longer ones and 1 of the shorter ones. And I'm just going to use some of these little tiny black zip ties from the hardware department at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to start going around and attaching those little bouquets to the wreath, overlapping about halfway down the leaf. These zip ties I find easier to work with than the floral wire, and I thought that this would give me a good start. So I just take 2 of the longer ones, dark green, and 1 of the light green ones, and I just start going around and zip tying those around. I'm just kind of estimating, I'm hoping I have 7 of this kind, that 7 is going to be enough, and it actually turned out perfect. I mean, wreaths could always be fuller, and I could have used more. Probably couldn't have used less, but again, I could have used some of the other ones that I did pick up. They were pretty similar. So again, this is like the 16-inch, I think, wreath form, and I was so excited when I found this at Dollar Tree because it's a great size for the front door. It's not going to look like a small wreath. It's going to look big and fun. And even though it was a little hard, I did think about cutting it up and just using a single circle. But I didn't really want to destroy it because, again, it's kind of hard to find these at the Dollar Tree, at least in my experience, in this larger size. So just these little black zip ties were the perfect size for this project. They come in a big package in the hardware department, and they're the black and red ones. The red ones are a little bit bigger. I'm using the black ones because I don't need them to be very large, and I think the black will blend in more. I don't want these to be visible. So I've almost got it full. It looks like 1 more bouquet is gonna finish our circle. Now, my problem now is that they're attached, but they're kind of wobbly, and I think they're gonna like fall off. I don't think it's gonna like hold up outside. So I'm gonna use some of this floral wire from the Dollar Tree, and I am just gonna start going around and probably wiring down about half of the leaves. And this is a bright green wire, and you can kind of see it. So I'm kind of doing the underneath leaves in the bouquet so that you can't see the wire because it does kind of stand out. It's kind of the wrong color of green. It doesn't really match in with these. And so I tied it off there at the beginning around 1 of the wires, and I am just kind of feeling my way around and finding the leaves that I want to secure down and just wrapping that around and around. And again, I'm not really doing the leaves that are on top or that are super visible. because I don't want you to be able to see the green wire. So I found that I didn't really like working with this floral wire with this, but it did help give me more structure because those were all attached with the zip ties, but they were wobbly. I think any kind of a wind or a storm was going to have this thing fall apart. So I think that this step is necessary. Again, I would have liked to use a different kind of wreath form where I could just slide those branches in and use some twine. I think it would have been a lot easier. But again, I wanted a big wreath, so that is what I'm going to go with. So I went all the way around. That floral wire is great because it has a built-in cutter, and you just snip it, and I am just tying it off and cutting off the excess wire. And I do have more stability at this point. I do have a few random extra leaves, so I decided to look around and see if I could find any holes or any areas that weren't quite as full, and just using what extra leaves I have so I don't really have any extra left over. So just kind of playing around with it, using those black zip ties to attach those when I do see a place that could be a little bit fuller. And again, these aren't the best quality, silk plants you're going to work with, but for the price, for $1 for the wreath form and $7 for all of the ferns, it is such a better deal than you could definitely buy this. This is a large wreath. It would have cost a lot to buy it already made. So again, I'm just filling in any loose spots. And I find that it still wasn't great as far as stability. So I wanted to keep its shape and to be more circular. So I am using some more of those black zip ties, and I am going around and kind of securing the outside leaves to that outside wire. Initially, I attached all the stems to the center wire, and so I think that this is going to give me more of a wreath shape and help it to stay together too. The ones along the inside, it's pretty circular and pretty secure, so I think I just need to do it here along the outside. And I'm not doing it with every one, just any of them that kind of are like sticking way out. And again, just zip tying those on there and cutting off the extra plastic from the zip tie. And this, combined with the wire, definitely improved the stability of the wreath, and I think it's going to stay together. So just going around the outside all the way around and zip tying those off, and we have our fern wreath. I really love how this turned out, but I thought it needed like a little bit of extra fun. So I'm going to add, I'm going to make a sign for this, and I am also going to add a flamingo to it. So I picked up one of these pink plastic flamingos from the Dollar Tree, and they have these little metal legs, but I'm not really going to use those. I don't think it's needed. It looks a little cheap and plasticky, of course, because it's a pink flamingo, but it had a really cool texture on there. So I'm using one of the chunky brushes from the Dollar Tree and some ivory chalk paint, and just kind of going over and bringing out that texture just to give it a little bit more depth and to make it look a little bit better than it did. And then I'm just following that up with a baby wipe to wipe off any excess. And you can see it has like a really cool like feather texture on there. And it kind of gives a little bit of a variety in color. I'm going over the front of it and the top of it, just where that is going to be visible, and just giving it that light weather touch. And I think he's ready to go. I'm just going to attach that body part to the wreath. And again, I didn't really want to fool with the legs. I didn't think that that would really add anything to the project. Now, I want this to be removable so that I can reuse this fern wreath for other ideas. So I am just going to use some twine to tie it on. But first, I got to find a way to secure that twine to my plastic flamingo. So hot glue a piece of this twine from the Dollar Tree, and then I am just going to hot glue on a piece of that burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, just to give it a little bit extra stability to hold that string on the back of our flamingo. And I think it's good to go. And all I'm going to do is just tie that on. I kind of want it to be on the bottom, right over on the side is where I envision my little flamingo. And so I just put that on there, and I am going to turn it over and just tie that off with the twine. It's going to be on there good and secure, and look how easy to remove this will be. All I have to do is to cut the twine and pop it off, and I can use this fern wreath for another project. So there he is. Now, I thought the only other thing it needed was a sign. So I am going to make a sign out of one of these wooden shelves from the Dollar Tree. They have these 2 ropes on top, and you can hang it. It's like a wall shelf, but I thought it would make a perfect sign for this. And I can even use the ropes to use to tie the sign on like I did the flamingo. But first, I'm going to use one of these Scorch Pen Markers. I have never used one of these before. I picked it up on Amazon Prime Day the other day. I think it was only like $5 or $6. I will post a link below to the Scorch Pen that I used. And when you add heat to it using a heat gun, then it is going to look like I have burnt the wood burning. So I was afraid you weren't going to be able to see it, but you can. It kind of turns out like a funny color yellow marker. And I thought about using like a Cricut stencil, but I was kind of wanting to get this project done, and I thought it would be really fun if it was like my own handwriting. So I am just writing in my best cursive, "Welcome to our nest." I thought that would be cute with the flamingo theme for my front porch. And I'm crossing my fingers because I have no idea if this is going to work. Now, I'm using my heat gun that I got on Amazon. This is only like a $10 heat gun, so this is a really inexpensive process to do. And look at that. When you apply the heat from the heat gun, it looks like you did wood burning on the sign. Isn't this a fun technique? This is great if you don't have a Cricut and you're looking for ways to personalize signs. Look how easy this was, like for real. I love it. Now I'm used to moving my heat gun around a lot to dry paint, and I noticed it works even better if you kind of hold it still over the marker, and I love how this turned out. I can't wait to play with that Scorch Pen some more. There was a few places that didn't look real even, so I am just touching that up there with that Scorch Pen and hoping I can do that. And then just going in there again with the heat to wood burn that out. Now, like my husband and son do the wood burning, and it is a very slow process, takes a lot of time. This was so fast and so easy, and look how cute it turned out. Now, I'm thinking I can just use this existing string to tie this on. And then I thought I kind of like when the rope is tied in the front where you can see it. I think that makes it look a little bit more rustic, and I think it's going to work better for this. So I just flipped that string around using that existing knot, and then I'm going to thread the twine through that existing hole. I'm going to do the same thing over here on the right side. And I am just going to simply tie this on too. So this is going to be really easy to remove if I wanted to reuse this fern wreath for another project. And so I get it on there. I'm kind of arranging it how I like. I'm going to kind of put it crooked on the top over on the left. And I am just going to simply tie a knot to secure that on the front, cut off the excess rope. And we have a new wreath for my front door. So total cost, let's see, $7 for the ferns, $8, $9, $10, everything from the Dollar Tree. Now, you know I have to distress it, right? I could have left it. It looked pretty good, but I am just going to use my chunky brush and some ivory chalk paint and just give it a very light dry brushing just to give us a little bit more coastal feel. And that is it. I'm just going to use a wreath hanger on my front door to attach that to my front door. And I love how this project turned out. And this was kind of my inspiration to keep going. So I have one of these plain core doormats from Target. And they're normally $10. I think I got it on sale for $8. They do go on sale from time to time with like the 20% off sale. And that is what I did. Now I'm going to use a process called sublimation to do this. Totally not necessary, but that is how I want to get started. You could also, if you want to do stencils, you can do stencils with Cricut vinyl if you have a Cricut. It's really hard to get the vinyl to stick to the doormat for you to paint it. And so I find sublimation an easier technique. And so I have a large format sublimation printer, and I was able to design this image on Canva and print that on 2 of my, I think these are 13 by 19. And I am trying to tape it to the core, but again, it's really hard to attach anything sticky to that. So when you do sublimation, it's like an iron-on. You print out a reverse image, and then I am just going to use heavy stuff that I can find because I know that tape's not going to hold, and I don't want this to move around. Now, I did a previous project where I did sublimation for my spring doormat. I did a ladybug, and normally in the past I had sublimated and then painted, and that one I wanted to make it even easier, so I just sublimated. Now, I found that did not hold up well in the weather. It really faded, so I am going to sublimate and then paint on this project. So I'm just using my Cricut Easy Press 2. Really important to have the 2 for sublimation because you need to be able to go to 400 degrees. And I am doing 400 degrees for 2 minutes. So I have it just set to 60 seconds, so normal sublimation, and I'm just hitting it twice on each location. I'm being very careful to move just by sliding from one to the next because I don't want my paper to move around. I don't want my image to get messed up. And I could have sublimated longer, but since I'm going to paint it, I think that this is going to be the best way. This is kind of how I've made other mats before, and it turned out really good. I picked out a very simple flamingo pattern because I knew I was going to be painting it, and I didn't want it to be very hard. But honestly, you could probably freehand this if you don't have a Cricut or a sublimation printer. It probably would not be that hard. Now, the font might cause you a little bit of a struggle. Now, I am going to use just some polyacrylic to spray over to try to bring out those colors a little bit. You can tell it really helps with that Hello Summer, and that is how I ended it with my Ladybug project. And it did not hold up to the Florida weather. So I used that very light pink for my flamingo, which is not showing up very well on that brown mat, but I can see it enough, I think, to paint it. So I got these great paint pens, also on Amazon Prime Day. I'll post a link for them below as well. And I love them because there's always a color of paint pens that I was missing, and now I have just a full set of colors, and they are awesome. So I'm going to paint the flamingo pink. And originally it had pink legs, but I think it should have orange legs like a flamingo. So I got a pink pen, an orange pen, and a black pen for the writing. And I am just taking my time and painting that flamingo pink. And this is a really easy, you could probably freehand this flamingo. It's a pretty easy pattern to draw. And I am just filling in the rest of his body with that pink paint pen. And now I've made a Easter and a St. Patrick's Day core mat using this method. You can personalize it. You can put your name on it. You can put anything you want on it when you make your own. And they're very inexpensive. And it's kind of addicting. Now I love making them. I want to make one for every season. So I'm making this one for the summer. And I'm going to put it on like a black and white buffalo check mat that I got at Target as well. And I always like putting that under my core mats. I think it looks really good. So I just used the orange to draw on some flamingo legs. and part of his beak there, and then a black one just for the eye and the beak. And now I'm using that same black marker to color in my Hello Summer. Now, if you don't have a Cricut or sublimation, you could always, get a Sharpie and draw like a pattern on there that you like, or your name or whatever it is, and then just go back in with acrylic paint pens like this and fill it in as well. I'm using sublimation because I think it's a lot easier than making stencils with a Cricut and then fighting to try to get them to stay on. But it gives me a great pattern. It shows me exactly where I need to paint. And so this is definitely my go-to method from now on for making doormats. I really like the core doormats. They are my favorite. I think they work really well. And I really want this to hold up because this is Florida and it is raining every day. So I don't want another faded doormat. So I think that this is going to be really good. And it's going to go perfectly with that flamingo wreath that we just made for the front door. When I think summer, I think pink flamingos and a fun. So this is a project that you can make whether you live at the beach or not. Who cares? If you want to be have a pink flamingo, go for it. So I got it all on there and on to the next project. Now this is going to be super easy. I found this great little palm tree planter at my local Goodwill store. And so it is a thrift flip. Look, somebody paid like $50 for this. And I got it for like, I think $4 or $5. It's a really nice size. And I have a little table next to my front door. So I thought this would be a fun tropical addition to my new wreath and doormat. Now, I picked up these little paper cutouts at Dollar Tree, and they're like little curtains of that pink bird, a flamingo, and a yellow hibiscus. And they're just attached to the string with tape. So, super way to get lots of cute little cutout flamingos. And I am simply going to Mod Podge this little flamingo onto the front of my planter. I thought about doing all four sides. I thought that might be a little much. And so I am just going to do it on the front. And it's almost the perfect size for my pot. So I have went over with a coat of Mod Podge and then stuck it to it. It's a really nice thick cardboard cutout. There was some angles going on the slope of my planter. But once I got it secure the first time, it seemed to stick really well. And I am just going in with my heat gun to dry that Mod Podge and going all over it again. I want it just to be, permanent enough to hold up outside to the weather, but not on there forever, like something that I could probably remove in the future. And I go over it maybe with 3 or 4 coats of Mod Podge to try to get that good and sealed down. I really find if you use the heat gun, again, I'll post a link for that as well too. It really speeds up your projects with paint or with Mod Podge, as this dries really, really quickly. And I think this thrift flip only took me like maybe 5 minutes. It was super fast. And this is one of the things I love buying most in thrift stores is silk plants like this. They're so expensive to buy them in a store, and you'd be amazed what people donate to those places. And it's in perfect condition, and I think it's ready to go. Okay, final reveal time. Here is my new tropical wreath for the front door. Welcome to our nest with the little pink flamingo on there. It's so whimsical and so fun, and it just screams summer to me. I love how this turned out. Here is my new doormat, Hello Summer, with an adorable little flamingo on there, and this is how it looks on my front porch. And then up next is my little thrift flip. I have a little tropical table that I sit next to my front door. And this was the perfect addition. Look how tropical this looks. And it even has a fun little flamingo on there. And then for my finishing touch, I had an outdoor flamingo pillow, an old pillow laying around. And I think it looks great on my bench by my front door. And check out this awesome bench. I got this a couple years ago on Wayfair, and it's so fun. Thank you for watching today, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you like my videos. Until next time, bye.